The Wyrm of Eldmoor. The swamps of Eldmoor were a forsaken place, shrouded in perpetual mist and reeking of decay. Every step sank into the fetid muck, and every sound, a splash, a distant croak, carried the weight of unseen horrors. It was said that those who ventured into Eldmoor often met their end in the jaws of its guardian, Vaelthrax the Wyrm, a dragon whose very presence poisoned the land. Eadric of Blackmere trudged through the mire, his boots heavy with mud, his sword vigilance gleaming faintly in the dim light. He had faced many dragons in his lifetime, but this one was different. This one whispered his name in the shadows, its voice a claw raking against his mind. "Eadric," the voice hissed, soft and mocking. "Do you think you can slay me? Do you even know why you are here?" Eadric tightened his grip on his sword, his jaw clenched. "I am here to finish what I started." Years ago, before the fall of the Concordium, Eadric had led an ill-fated expedition into Eldmoor. The mission was to slay Vaelthrax and reclaim the swamps for the villagers who had been driven away. But the dragon's venomous breath had turned the swamp into a death trap. Eadric had been forced to retreat, leaving behind his comrades to die in the mire. Their faces haunted him still. Vaelin, the bright-eyed youth who dreamed of heroism. Isella, the healer who always smiled, even in the darkest times. Their screams echoed in his nightmares, and their blood weighed heavy on his soul. Now, years later, the villagers of Eldmoor had begged him to return. The worm had grown stronger, its influence spreading beyond the swamp. Crops withered, children sickened, and the air itself seemed to choke the life from the land. Eadric had no choice but to confront the beast, and his own guilt. As the mist thickened, Eadric reached the heart of the swamp, a sunken cathedral of blackened stone, its spire twisted like a skeletal finger pointing to the heavens. Within, the air was thick with the stench of decay and the faint glow of green light. Vaelthrax emerged from the shadows, its massive form coiling around the ruined structure. Its scales were black as midnight, streaked with sickly green veins that pulsed like a heartbeat. Its eyes glowed with malevolent intelligence, and its fanged maw twisted into something resembling a grin. "Eadric of Blackmere," the dragon purred, its voice echoing in the chamber. "The coward returns. Did you come to die as they did?" Eadric stepped forward, his sword raised. "I came to put an end to you." Vaelthrax laughed, a sound that reverberated through the stones. "You think you can defeat me? Foolish knight, I am not merely a beast. I am your failure given form, your guilt made flesh. Strike me, and you only strike yourself." The dragon lunged, its massive jaws snapping inches from Eadric's face. He rolled aside, his blade slicing through the air to meet the beast's flank. Vigilance struck true, but instead of blood, a foul mist erupted from the wound, stinging his eyes and burning his lungs. Vaelthrax roared, its tail whipping around to smash the ground where Eadric stood. The knight dodged, his movements quick despite the weight of his armor. But the swamp itself seemed to fight against him, pulling at his feet, sapping his strength. "You cannot win," the dragon hissed, its voice wrapping around him like a vice. "You carry the burden of those you left behind. Their screams fuel me. Their blood strengthens me. Do you not hear them?" Eadric faltered as ghostly figures emerged from the shadows, Vaelin, Isella, and the others who had died that day. Their hollow eyes stared at him, their voices a chorus of accusation. "You left us to die," they whispered. "You abandoned us." Eadric dropped to his knees, his sword slipping from his grasp. The weight of their voices crushed him, dragging him down into the muck. Vaelthrax loomed over him, its fanged maw opening wide. But as the dragon lunged, something stirred within Eadric. A memory, faint but persistent. Isella's voice, not in accusation, but in kindness. "Forgive yourself," she had once said, tending to his wounds after a battle. "You carry too much, Eadric. You are only human." The words struck like a lightning bolt. Eadric's eyes snapped open, and he reached for vigilance. The blade flared with light, banishing the ghostly figures and forcing the dragon back. "They are gone," Eadric said, rising to his feet. His voice was steady, resolute. "Their deaths were not my choice, but my burden. and I will carry it no longer." Vaelthrax snarled, its form flickering as if it were losing substance. "No! You cannot deny me! I am your failure!" Eadric stepped forward, his sword blazing with renewed strength. "You are nothing but a shadow, and shadows cannot stand against the light." With a mighty swing, Eadric drove vigilance into the dragon's chest. The blade pierced through its scales, and Vaelthrax let out a deafening roar. Green light erupted from the wound, flooding the chamber as the dragon's body began to disintegrate. Eadric held his ground, his grip unyielding as the beast dissolved into mist. The swamp trembled, the poisoned air lifting, the light of the blade cutting through the darkness. When the light faded, the swamp was silent. The twisted spire had crumbled, and the land around him seemed to breathe again. Eadric knelt, his sword planted in the ground, his heart heavy but unburdened. As Eadric emerged from the swamp, the villagers of Eldmoor gathered, their faces filled with awe and gratitude. He said nothing, only nodding as they whispered their thanks. That night, as he sat alone by his campfire, Eadric stared at the stars. The weight of his guilt had lessened, but he knew his journey was far from over. There were still dragons to face, both in Albion and within himself, and so he rose, sheathing his blade. The road ahead was long, but for the first time in years, he felt the faint flicker of hope.